Javier Vásquez, Human Rights Advisor at PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization. Javier, what are your expectations of this conference in the context of Resolution CD50R8, Health and Human Rights?
Well, I think this conference is putting together so many stakeholders that will help PAHO Secretariat and the Directing Council of PAHO to implement Resolution CD50R8, Health and Human Rights, that is calling for reform of national policies, plans and laws using human rights instruments to train governmental officials, health workers, judges, parliamentarians on health and human rights, to work with civil society and to clarify the mechanisms that exist in the context of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, or the UN treaty bodies such as the Committee on the Rights of the Child or the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. So it's going to help the region to strengthen the right to health and other related human rights. Very frequently we see, for example, the right to life, the right to personal integrity, the right to due process, the right to judicial guarantees, or the right to personal freedom or freedom of expression being affected in the context of health institutions, health centers, and in the context of ministries of health.
Thank you. Javier, you are a former student of this College of Law, and you know that students have been participating. Do you have anything to tell them, to all these students that have been working during these past months, that have been actually participants of this wonderful event? What would you tell them?
Yes, you are, as students of the Washington College of Law, you are key. We cannot strengthen the right to health and other related human rights without you, students, at the JD level, at the graduate level, the LLMs, because think about it. We have been putting together papers for this conference, and all the authors are already lawyers studying their master's degrees or are law students, and the papers have been of a very, very high quality and in complex issues. So these students are already part of this networking that is strengthening human rights in the context of health.
Also, Javier, how do you see that almost 200 people have been registering for this huge event? I mean, and they are eager to implement human rights instruments in the context of health. How do you see the role of the Washington College of Law in the years to come in this area in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization?
Well, I think that this is the main objective and spirit of the agreement that the Pan American Health Organization has with the Washington College of Law, which is certainly to train technical teams in PAHO and law students on the international and regional human rights instruments that can be used to protect health. And what I see is certainly many more initiatives of collaboration between the Pan American Health Organization and the Washington College of Law. For example, in the context of the clinics of the Washington College of Law, working with students with regard to country reports, with regard to individual cases, with regard to capacity building activities for ombudspersons, for judges, for parliamentarians. So it's a fascinating development, and this is exactly what Jonathan Mann said many years ago before dying, that he wanted to see health workers and human rights specialists working together to change the world. As you know, Jonathan Mann died in an accident on a plane, but he left this legacy, and I think that this workshop, this conference, is making alive the legacy of Jonathan Mann, that was health and human rights.
Javier, we have seen, I mean, the panelists were impressive, and the participation of the panelists. We've had participants from the treaty bodies, from governments. How what could you tell us? How do you consider that the UN treaty bodies and the inter-American mechanisms can get benefited from this red of networking that have been gathered here for 2 days?
Well, in many different ways. I think that, for example, these stakeholders and the Pan American Health Organization are better prepared to formulate technical opinions that can be used by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights or by the UN treaty bodies to make decisions and in individual cases or in country reports. And also, at the same time, I think that the conference is also clarifying to faculty members and with technical teams of PAHO what are the different mechanisms that are available in the Inter-American system and in the United Nations human rights system. So I think that the conference is providing students and technical teams of PAHO with more information in the area of health and in the context of civil, political rights, economic, social, cultural rights, and fundamental freedoms. And the publication that is going to come out of this conference is going to be also an immense contribution to the region, to the ministers of health, judges, ombudspersons, parliamentarians, because we have 6 different tools, 6 different papers that are addressing effective measures to protect human rights in the context of health systems.
Finally, Javier, we know you have worked with your team pretty much with regards to access to information, and you have put this into the agenda as a cross-cutting priority in all the working groups. Could you tell us a little bit about this? Because we know that the human rights team at PAHO has the right to information as something crucial, and we would like to hear your opinion on this.
Yes, this is a freedom of expression, which is a right that is protected by the American Convention on Human Rights, and very few times is discussed in the context of disseminating and receiving appropriate information in the context of health. And if you think, for example, about issues of maternal mortality or issues on women's rights, reproductive rights, it's crucial, it's key that adolescents, girls, women receive appropriate information in the context of sexual and reproductive health in order to make decisions that are compatible with human rights instruments, but also decisions that can really guarantee their right to life and personal integrity. So we have given a lot of importance in this conference to the right to receive information and the obligations that health institutions, for example, universities and private sector and PAHO and WHO have with regard to disseminate accurate and appropriate information to guarantee the right to life, health and personal integrity, among other rights.